Hello and welcome to our fourth and last webinar for this month. And our topic for today's webinar is Smalltalk2me in EnglishScore, a professional development for English teachers speaking. And this webinar is basically of interest to beginner teachers. So for today's agenda, I'll be starting with showing the differences or clarifying the differences between pronunciation and speaking. Then I'll move on to highlighting the features of pronunciation that an English teacher has to know more about. After that, I'll be sharing some ways to improve your phonetic and phonological knowledge as an English teacher. And after that, I'll be providing some tools to improve your own pronunciation and speaking, and at the same time to practice pronunciation and speaking with a particular focus on two tools: Smalltalk2me website and EnglishScore application. So before we delve into the content of today's webinar, I'd like you to watch this video, only a clip of it or a part of the video. And while watching, I'd like you to think, what is the problem with the man? Do you think he has a problem with speaking or pronunciation? So I'll be sharing the video with you so that you hear it better. So let's start listening.
I would like to buy a hamburger.
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 No. Let's break it down. I would
Would
weird
weird
would like to
toi
to
toi
to
toi
buy
b a
hamburger.
hamburger.
So from this video, again, let's go back to our PPT and discuss our question. Okay. So what do you think is the problem with this person? Is it a problem with pronunciation, how he pronounces the sounds, or expressing his ideas in spoken language? So it's clear that this person has a problem with sounds. He does not move his mouth appropriately to produce the correct sound. And at the same time, he confuses between vowels. For example, he pronounces tu as toi, so this affects the meaning, a totally different word. Well, so what is the difference between pronunciation and speaking? So according to Oxford Learner's Dictionary, speak is to talk to somebody about something or to have a conversation with somebody. So it's more about expressing your ideas in spoken form or in an audible form. And you know, in order to speak or to express your ideas with someone or to converse with someone, you don't only or you not only need ways of pronouncing the words, but also you need a great amount of words or a great number of words to be able to express yourselves very well. And you need a variety of grammatical structures to help you put these words in a meaningful way. But pronunciation, according to Oxford Dictionary, again, pronounce something is to make the sound of a word or a letter in a particular way. So basically, it's how you make the sounds of words and language chunks. So we can think of pronunciation as one aspect of speaking or part of speaking. Okay. Now we move on to the features of pronunciation that you as an English teacher must be aware of and know more about. You have to search for their meanings and their rules, because by the end of the day, we are teachers and our role is to explain and facilitate things to students and to help them understand. And we can never do that if we don't know the ropes or the rules of what we teach. And here I'm concerned with pronunciation. So those features, those are the main ones, include sounds, word stress, sentence stress, intonation, assimilation, linking, elision, weak forms, voicing, and devoicing. So let's get deeper into those features. If we start with sounds, what should I know? You know that every and each sound in English is produced in a specific way, and there are certain movements of our mouth and articulators in order to produce that sound in a meaningful and understandable way. So if we miss on those movements, we may get confused, or we may confuse between sounds, and this may lead to misunderstanding and change in meaning. And this can be illustrated by these minimal pairs. For example, the confusion between the voiceless one and the voiced b. So for example, cup and cob. So these two words are different in meaning because of the difference in the consonant at the end. So if, for example, cup has a mental image that is totally different from cob. So you cannot say, for example, that I drink coffee in a cup. So the meaning is contrastive and kind of, nonsensical. So we have to be aware of those things, not only, to know that the p is voiceless and the b is voiced, but we need to know how to produce them. Because, you are a model. As you do, your students do. Okay, so your students speak the way you do. So if you miss that point, they will imitate you. So you have to be very careful when using those sounds. The same applies to rope and robe. Again, two words, two different meanings and mental images due to the change of the final consonant. Again, another word or another pair is pitch, and the other word, which is an offensive word, it's a curse. So this may, cause you embarrassing situations if you miss on those sounds. Other problems we may fall in regarding sounds is the confusion between long and short vowels. You know that we need to be aware ourselves of the amount of time that we need in order to produce a short vowel, because it's short in the time of pronunciation, and the long vowel, which is long in the time of pronunciation. So we need to practice that to make our ears aware of that difference in order to be able to explain it. So for example, beach, and the other word again, it has a short vowel. If you use the short vowel in place of the long one, you'll be changing the meaning, you'll be changing the consequences of your speech. Other problems, again related to sounds, is that some people tend to insert vowels where they're not supposed to. For example, many speakers in Arabic insert a vowel between the L and the ch, between the L and the ch sound, creating a new or an extra syllable and causing problems with the stress of the word, and this affects the clarity and intelligibility of their speech. Okay, so instead, for example, of saying culture and picture, they say culture or picture, which are mispronunciations of the two words. Okay, so what we take away out of this, that we need to analyze the sounds very well to practice the differences between them, because misuse of those sounds causes problems with understanding and changes the meaning. Another feature or another significant feature is word stress. And by stress, we mean that a certain syllable in a word has to be pronounced longer and louder than the other syllables. Okay, so misusing again the placement of stress may lead to changes in the meaning, totally different, leading to a totally different meaning, and by consequence causes problems. Let me focus on some examples. Some words in English have the same orthographic form, they have the same spelling. However, their category changes based on where we place the stress. So for example, this word, if you stress the first syllable, it will be a noun referring to a concept, export. But if you move the stress to the second syllable, it will be export, expressing in action. So again, this affects the clarity of your speech. Another thing related to stress is compound nouns. Compound nouns are two nouns, for example, that are combined together to refer to one concept. And those nouns are usually receive their stress on the first word. So here when we say this compound noun, we say bus station, not bus station. So bus here is not does not describe the station, but rather it shows that the station is the place where buses stop. So with compound nouns, we raise our voice on the first noun, bus station. Stress may also influence the length of, or influence the type of the vowel in certain syllables. So for example, you know that this word has two variants of pronunciation according to the accent. So in British English, it's vocabulary, while in American English, it's vocabulary. So this does not by any means lead us to generalize that any adjective or any word or any noun that has ARY in American English should be pronounced as airy. Why? Because this is influenced, this kind of pronunciation is influenced by whether the preceding syllable is stressed or unstressed. So in the case of vocabulary, you'll notice that the syllable before the ARY is unstressed. That's why we can freely pick one of these two variants. We can say vocabulary or vocabulary. However, if the syllable before the ARY is stressed, you are restricted because the pronunciation of this vowel is restricted to the schwa or the weak vowel uri. So for example, in this word, we say elementary, not elementary. Why? Because the syllable before the ARY is stressed. So this is a very important point. You'll find lots and tons of examples of this in references that I'll be sharing with you shortly. So other examples, if we like to elaborate, include these two words. So again, if we stress, the first syllable will be pointing to nouns, contract, for example, and it means a piece of paper that binds a relationship between two parties. However, if we stress the second syllable, contract. So in this case, it will be a verb referring to an action and meaning to make something short. So two different uses, two different meanings, two different mental images. Okay, true that some people have fossilized habits of pronunciation, and they may find problems, discerning or distinguishing or even producing certain sounds in the correct and appropriate way, or even, knowing the differences in their voice volume, or making, variations in their voice volume. However, I firmly believe that practice makes perfect. So we need to practice self-awareness, or the phonological awareness, that we need to be aware of the variation of our volume or voice volume, that we sometimes go down and then go up with our voice, so that we can be aware of stress. This happens by, practicing, shadowing, imitation, and listening a lot. So let's move on to other features. And the other feature is sentence stress. And when we talk about sentences, normally, there are certain words, when we speak, there are certain word categories that receive stress, or that we need to pronounce them louder than the other words in the sentence, because they are content words, or they carry the meaning of the sentence. This is the reason. So the normal sentence stress falls on the nouns, verbs, and I mean main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Okay, so if we, for example, pronounce this sentence, it will be, I need a piece of cake. So need, piece, and cake are peaks in my voice wave. And the other words, the pronoun, the article, and the preposition are weaker. They are not clear in my pronunciation because they are function words. Another example, I need a big piece of cake. So here we have a main verb, an adjective, a noun, and another noun. And notice that although the adjective and the noun are stressed, the stress on the noun is stronger than that of the adjective. So for example, we do not say new house. No, it's a new house. Okay. However, in everyday speech, if we speak in conversations, we usually use emphatic stress. And this means that any word in the sentence can be stressed, spoken louder and longer, depending on the meaning the speaker wants to convey. So in these examples, for example, the preposition of is not normally stressed. However, I can stress it if I want to emphasize that, for example, I need a piece of cake. So in this case, I'm emphasizing that I need a piece of cake, not anything else. Okay. The other feature is intonation. And intonation is the overall tone, melody, or music that you use to pronounce a sentence. Whether you raise your voice or go down along the sentence. And there are basic tones for sentences or statements and questions, so that the other person listening to you understands what you want. So if my intention is to give information to someone, so I may use a falling tone. So my voice is up at the beginning and then slowly goes down. So I need a piece of cake. My voice falls on cake. However, if I change the tone of the same sentence, the same words, I'll convey a totally different meaning. And I'll give the sentence a totally different function. So for example, I need a piece of cake. So this is a yes or no question. And if I say the sentence that way, I may expect a yes or no answer. Okay, so I changed my own statement into a rhetorical question. In yes or no questions, again, we use a rising tone rather than a falling tone. So, do you study German? Okay, so these are, you know, the basic tones, and intonation is related, is closely related to meaning, because using different tones and intonation may render different emotions and different impressions of the speaker, even if the person is using the same words and same structures. Changing the tone changes the meaning. And that's why, again, we need to know the different types of intonation or different types of intonation tones and how we represent them when we teach tones and intonation to students, and in order to fix our own speaking. One more pronunciation feature is linking, and this one is related to fluency and, you know, maintaining the flow of your speech. And we have two varieties of linking in English. Either you link two vowels or you link a consonant to a vowel. In linking two vowels, here we have two variants as well. This means that I have a vowel at the end of a word and another vowel at the beginning of the following or the neighboring word. And if the vowel at the end of a word is a stretch one, and we mean by this that I stretch my lips when I pronounce the vowel. For example, I say E or A. So you have to link it with the following vowel using the Y consonant. So the end of the story, the end of the story, okay? But when I say the end of the story, here you are breaking the flow of your speech. Another example is 3 other books. So here again, we have E, I stretch my lips. So I have to link it to the other vowel using Y vowel. So 3 other books. Okay, but if I round my lips when pronouncing and producing the vowel at the end of a word, like for example, saying O or U, in this case, you link the vowel to the following, you link this vowel to the following vowel using W consonant. So through all the stages, through all the stages. So this is vowel to vowel linking. The linking also can be represented by linking a consonant to another vowel. So here we have a consonant at the end of a word and a vowel at the beginning of the neighboring word. So in this condition, we move, you know, in our pronunciation, we move the consonant as if it is at the beginning of the neighboring word. So I say the best dancer. And notice something, a good technique in order to improve your pronunciation is to start slow and then get back to normal. So as I practice linking for the first time, I have to do it slowly. The best dancer, the best dancer, and then get back to normal, the best answer. Okay, this is much better if you do if you practice it the other way around. If you start normally, you may cause problems. You may not perceive the rule well. So start slowly, and then until you understand and perceive the rule in your minds, then speak normally. Another example is good afternoon. So to make it smooth in pronunciation, I link the consonant to the vowel and I say, good afternoon, good afternoon, okay? Okay, and other features related to fluency and connected speech include assimilation. So assimilation means that we have two consonants at the borders of two syllables or two words. And the following consonant imposes or exerts some influence on the preceding consonant, changing it altogether into a totally different sound. So, for example, pronouncing these two words separately, they may be last and year. But in fluent and natural speech, we tend to speak faster. So it will be last year, last year, last. So the T changes into ch because of the influence of the y sound at the beginning of the following word. Other examples include bad yacht. So in everyday speech, it will be bad jot, bad jot, bad jot. Okay, so the D here changes into j due to the influence of the y consonant. Other examples, did you study hard? Did you study hard? This is, when you say words separately, but when you pronounce them naturally, did you study hard? Did you study hard? Okay, so here the D sound changes into a j sound due to the influence of the y. Other examples include the pairing of the D and M together. So the D changes into P. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Great guest. Great guest. So the K changes into G due to assimilation. So these are just examples. You can find hundreds of assimilation examples of references, and I'll be sharing some with you shortly. And by the way, assimilation affects listening. So if you are aware of assimilation rules, this will facilitate the understanding of what you listen to. So let's move on to the other feature, which is elision. And elision means deletion. There is a sound that is removed altogether from our speech. And this again presupposes that there is a consonant cluster at the borders of two syllables or two separate words, and the occurrence of these two consonants necessitates the dropping of one, which is the one at the end of the word. So pronouncing these words separately may be let me, but in normal connected speech, it will be lemmy, lemmy, gimme. And again, if we have the elision is also applied when there are three consonants at the end of a word. So we drop the one in the middle, like parents, friends, months, the plural form, pass, okay? A piece of cake, so the V and the K don't work together. That's why we drop the V. So we'll hear it, a piece of cake. Okay, one more feature is voicing. And you know that in English we have 44 sounds. They are divided into consonants and vowels, and that all vowels in English are voiced. And this means that when we pronounce them, we have to vibrate our vocal folds to, and this is called voicing. There is vibration in your voice cords. However, in consonants, we have two groups. Some consonants are voiced. So when we pronounce or produce them, we have to vibrate our vocal folds. While with the other group, we have to pronounce them as we are whispering. That's why we call them voiceless. The question is, how is that important to to understanding or the meaning. Voicing is very important when it comes to conveying meaning, because other grammatical or other language features, like for example, the regular plural S and the regular past ED, their pronunciation depends on the preceding consonant, whether it's, or the preceding sound, whether it's voiced or voiceless. So for example, if we read these two examples, caps and cabs, you'll notice that the regular plural S changed, or is not the same in both examples. And that change actually has a subsequent change in meaning as well. So when I say caps, caps are types of hats, but cabs are taxis. So if you use one in place of the other, you'll definitely change the meaning of your utterance. And this may cause problems in understanding, because, you know, by the end of the day, it's not a matter of accent. In pronunciation here or in speaking, it's a matter of clarity and intelligibility. And this is, you know, the criterion emphasized by Cambridge, that intelligibility and clarity of pronunciation overrides accent. Okay, other examples related to the pronunciation of the past, the regular past ED, that if it occurs after certain voiceless consonants, the D will be T. So we say finished, worked, helped. And by the way, we should highlight these points when we teach those grammatical rules, for example. They should be highlighted. That's why we need to be aware of. However, if the ED follows a voiced consonant, it will be D as is. So called, canned, planned, blamed, starred. Okay, so it's very important to be aware of this point. Okay, and afterwards we have devoicing. And by the way, this phenomenon is not very popular in books, but it's very important, again, when it comes to listening and when it comes to understanding and maintaining the flow and smoothness of speaking. And devoicing, as it shows from its structure, means removing the voicing or removing the vibration. But the idea is that they are not related to voiceless, or they do not mean voiceless consonants. It is argued that there is a group of voiced consonants, and they are called obstruents. And this group of consonants do not have fixed voicing quality. In other words, that they may lose their voicing if they occur before a voiceless consonant. So, for example, if you have a look at this word, we don't actually say abstract. We do not pronounce the B sound as is in its voiced form. Rather, we pronounce it abstract. Why? Because it occurs before a voiceless consonant, and this voiceless consonant caused the voiced one, which is B, to lose its voicing. And B is one of those consonants that don't have a fixed voicing quality. Other examples include the cab starts to move. We don't say the cab starts to move. Again, this breaks the flow of our speech. Okay, the cab starts to move. The bed smells good. The bed smells good. So again, the D loses its voicing and changes into the voiceless T. There is a kind of mirage far away from here. Mirage far away. So the J at the end of mirage changes into sh. So this means that the J sound loses its voicing quality, changing into a voiceless 1. Again, this is very important for you for the development of your own, the quality of your pronunciation and speaking. And once more again, I emphasize this is not acquired or learned at once. It needs, longer time of practice, and it needs that you focus, you bring examples, reading texts, search for examples of devoicing and start, practicing or focusing on those examples and listening to authentic conversations in talks. Well, now we move on to the most important question, which is how to improve. Let's agree that as a teacher, it's not enough for you to work on your own or the quality of your own pronunciation and speaking by listening to podcasts and listening to movies and trying to imitate them in order to be a better speaker. But you have also to delve into studying the details of those pronunciation features, know more about the rules in order to be able to explain why a certain word or language chunk is pronounced in that specific way to your students. Because, remember your job and your role. Your role is to guide your students and to help them understand. If you're not aware of the rules, there is a problem. Okay, so knowing or studying more about pronunciation, phonetic and phonological rules is part of your professional development. So for this, I'd like to share with you some references and sources on pronunciation and phonology. And I drew actually most of the content of this webinar from these sources. I start with Better English Pronunciation, and this is a book by J.D. O'Connor. And you know what? That most of English teachers rely heavily on this book. But, guys, life does not stop there. There are other references and other rules of English speaking included in other sources away from Better English Pronunciation. So we need to vary in our sources. We don't have to stick to one book and be, satisfied that it has everything. But we need to vary our sources so that we have a clearer image of what we do. So Better English Pronunciation is good for the basics. It has, a coverage of the features of sounds, some connected speech features like weak forms, intonation, elision, assimilation, and so on. But other books are more comprehensive, like, for example, Introduction to Phonetics and Phonology by Hans Gegerich. It's more advanced and it covers, it has detailed explanation of why a specific word is pronounced in a certain way. And it covers also ways of pronouncing phrases, compound nouns, differences between different varieties and accents of English. So it's wonderful. Another reference is English Pronunciation in Use, and this comes in 3 levels: elementary, intermediate, and advanced, produced by Cambridge. And it links sounds or pronunciation to conversation. So it's wonderful. You may find, you may fill in the gaps. Every and each reference fills in the gaps of the other references. So other books include American English Pronunciation by Rachel Smith. So as you can see, this gets deeper into the American pronunciation. And there is also American Accent Training by Anne Cook, and English Phonetics and Phonology by Peter Roach. So most of these books are available in a PDF format. So you can download them and pick, for example, a pronunciation feature and go through it in different references so that you have a clearer image of that point, or to master it appropriately. And also we have Rachel's English, and this is a YouTube channel devoted to pronunciation rules and bringing authentic examples for them. Okay, so remember that this has to be done along with, you have to read to develop yourself professionally. And at the same time, you have to use tools in order to improve your own pronunciation and speaking. And here I'm sharing with you some tools, and those include the practicing of the shadowing technique. And as you know, that shadowing is a very effective tool of improving pronunciation. And it simply means that I listen to a language chunk several times until I perceive it appropriately. And then I start imitating that language chunk as I heard it several times. And if you stick to that, over time, you'll master and your pronunciation will improve. And some sources to apply shadowing through include TEDx talks, movies, and there are a dime a dozen on YouTube, podcasts. And for these two websites, they are wonderful for, for bringing materials and resources for practice. So the VOA Learning English, it has resources and videos that cover language aspects and language skills. So you may go there and find what is appropriate to you and start working on. So you can use it for yourselves and adapt it to your own classrooms as well. Another website is British Council Learn English. It has the same thing. And there are two YouTube channels that I strongly recommend for you. The first one is Learn English with Jennifer. And this is again devoted to pronunciation. She explains, the details of how things are pronounced, covering all of the aspects and features of pronunciation I pointed out as I indicated before. Okay, so out of these tools, I need to focus on two tools. And the first one is Smalltalk2me, and it's an AI-powered website. And this website is interestingly a simulator of the IELTS speaking tasks. So people who prepare or plan to take the IELTS test can find it beneficial, and English learners can find it beneficial as well. Teachers can find it beneficial as well if their purpose is to improve the quality of their speaking and pronunciation. So this is for practice. So for example, after working on input resources from the VOA or the British Council Learn English, I may go to Smalltalk and go through the process of the speaking tasks in order to practice and apply what I newly learned. So for the types of questions that you can find on Smalltalk2me, you'll find short questions. So you need to respond to short questions, like for example, how are you today? How was your day? And then you're required to pronounce quotes taken from movies. And this is to measure your ability to apply intonation and pronunciation, the pronunciation of sounds and word stress. How far are you able to express emotions using the correct tones? There is also a question related to reading a text. So you're required to read a text. You respond to long questions. Also, you're required to provide a description to a photo. You're given a photo and you're asked to describe that photo. And there is also a response to a situation. You're given a situation and you're required to respond to that situation in 2 or 3 minutes. So, you know, the time span, it tries to measure how far you're able to express yourself appropriately in that time span using an appropriate grammatical resource and an appropriate lexical resource. The criteria that this website measure or uses to measure the quality of your speaking and pronunciation include fluency. It measures the flow of your speech, whether you are hesitant, you stop every now and then while you're speaking. Your grammatical resource, the variety, or whether you use a variety of grammatical structures, the vocabulary or your lexical resource, whether you stick to the basic words or you have a variety of words that cover different topics. And then pronunciation, whether you are good at pronouncing words clearly so that other people, the listeners, can understand, whether you use your intonation appropriately and clearly, you use stress clearly and appropriately, whether you use connected speech aspects like linking, assimilation, and elision so that your pronunciation and speech are clear enough for understanding. And finally, interaction and confidence. And also it provides you with your level in speaking based on the CEFR tiers from A1 to C2. Okay, so you have a clear map of your weaknesses and strengths. So what's more interesting about this website is that it highlights the good things that you achieved. For example, you made a great use of phrasal verbs, you used advanced vocabulary, you varied in your structures, and the areas you need to work on and improve, so that out of that experience, I can know what points I need to work on more so that I can go to the resources and work on those areas. And interestingly, you can get a certificate as a kind of motivation. So this is the feedback, and the feedback that this website provides is invaluable because it shows you what to do next. Okay, another tool of practice is EnglishScore. And EnglishScore is an application that you can install to your mobile phones. In this application, you'll find 3 tests. The core skills, it measures your vocabulary, grammar, reading, and listening. The speaking, and it has 2 stages. In the first stage, you read aloud, read something or a text aloud. You listen and repeat, which is shadowing. You listen to an audio and you're asked to repeat it to measure again your ability to reproduce the language in the correct way. And then a guided task. You're given a task and you have to produce your own speech or response. The second stage is really interesting because it's not included in Smalltalk, and which is peer grading. In this task or in this stage, you're given an audio from a testee, okay, a person who did the test before, and you're required to grade it. For example, whether this person is confident, fluent, uses a wide range of vocabulary structures, uses appropriate intonation. So you're required to grade this person. And through your own grading, the website decides whether you really understand the points of pronunciation and speaking. You really understand when to use stress in a specific way, or when to pause, the features of fluency. So this is really important because when you grade or when you assess the work of somebody else, you discover and recognize things that you do not usually recognize in your own speech. Okay, so, and finally, we have the writing test. But what concerns us for today is the speaking, because this is a wonderful tool of practicing speaking. You can do it every day if you like. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this webinar. And to recap, we highlighted the differences between speaking and pronunciation, and that as an English teacher, you need to know the differences so that you understand and be able to deliver those two areas to your students. Then we highlighted the main features of pronunciation and how they are important for us teachers to be clear to our students, and at the same time to be able to explain pronunciation problems and rules to our own students. After that, I shared some references where you can get or where you can enrich yourselves with phonetic and phonological knowledge, and that and how that is very significant for you as a teacher, explain why to your students. Finally, we shared some tools by which you can improve your pronunciation and share them with your students as well. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful. Thank you.